ancestor from whom I am in the 11th generation, he migrated to this present village from in Jagraon district near Delhi, and he robbed the Mughal treasury. He was caught and he was sentenced to death, but he converted, and as you know, under Islamic rule, if anybody converted, he was allowed to go free. But he was told to leave that area, and he was given land here in Gujranwala. My name is Bashir Maan. I am now 85 years old. I came to this country, to Glasgow, on 1st March 1953. I was at the university in 1945-1946, and I read some advertisements in the Indian English papers that there were vacancies in London for clerks. My younger brother was in the Navy. I had forced him to go into the Navy in 48-49. So he was first for 2 years at Portsmouth, and then he came to Rosyth for a couple of years. From Rosyth, one day, he came to Glasgow with his couple of friends. And in Glasgow, he saw a Pakistani man. They realized that he is of their own kind, and they were, should we say, bold enough to go and talk to him. So they were so pleased to meet him. And they were only young boys, they were 6, 17, 18. The man asked them to come to my house and have a meal with us. Oh, they were even delighted to have a meal after so many years of a Pakistani meal. So he wrote to me about this incident. And I said, well, listen, I want to come over here, and I was looking for a contact. Ask him if I can come over. And he said, yes. So next time he came, he asked him if my brother wanted to come up and want to study. He says, yes, he can come, but he won't find a job. I mean, he has to bring his own money to study here. I was thinking of going there and studying and working also. He said, no, they won't find any job. Anyway, when he told me, I said, well, listen, if there's a chance, I'll come. Anyway, if he can look after me for a couple of weeks, I'll find some way of, maintaining myself. So that's how I came to Glasgow. Because this man, that was his name, Muhammad Shafi, Sher Muhammad, 2 boys of a village near Chichavatani, a chuck near Chichavatani. And how we knew them, we knew them before also, because in the next chuck, it's our land also. So there was a little connection there, and that's how they, oh well, yes, you will be welcome. So I came here. When I came here, when I saw the situation, then I realized that naturally, yes, there's no chance of my getting a job. So I also started as a peddler with them. And after a couple of months, when I was on my feet, I also joined Royal Technical College. The newcomers were trained in the trade first. They were told the names of all the things. Though I was, educated, but I didn't know the cardigans and jumpers and nylons and, things like that. So I had to learn all that. I was told how to approach, go and knock the door, and the lady, as whoever answers the door, and there were 2 or 3 sentences people were told. Mrs. buy something? Very, because most of the people didn't know English. Not a word of English. They had to be taught these little sentences so that they can do business. But I, fortunately, knew little bit my English, though, not very much. I couldn't understand the accent here at all. And I think they couldn't understand me. So therefore, I had to kind of go over the whole rigmarole myself also. So this is the kind of thing. And then, and if he says yes, they open the case, show things, tell the price, say cheap, 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 all these things. And if he needed anything and he liked the price and the goods, well, she bought it. But The catch was on credit, not cash. That's how the people succeeded, because they gave on credit. Nobody had the cash, because if they had the cash, they could come to the town and buy it. They patronized you because you provided credit to them, and through credit, they got whatever they needed. They appreciated the service, but how they referred to you was a different thing. Because you told them your name, they asked you your name. They couldn't remember your name. So eventually the term which was used for all of us, whether it was the Muslims, Hindus, the Sikhs, was Johnny. Johnny. They will call you Johnny. And in your absence, if they have to referring to you, they will call you Johnny the Darky. Sometimes, sometimes, as I said, you liked your job, but sometimes it also became very embarrassing and very humiliating. Particularly when you were walking about in the streets at the time when the children come back from school, they're going home from the schools. Sometimes they will shouting at you, here goes the Johnny, Johnny the Darky, Darky Balarky, things like that. And that humiliated you, but you had to suffer it. I remember once a story, we were in Misha, Yaqub with me, God bless him, his soul, Yaqub Ali, he was with me, and we were, after doing our rounds a bit, it was in the afternoon, I think about 3 o'clock, and we were sitting on a wee patch of grass in a street, a corner. And as I said, the schools were coming out, and there were a group of girls coming, and when they saw us, they started shouting us, Johnny the Darky, here is a Johnny the two darkies, things like that. When they came near to us, Yaqub got up. I said, come, sit down. I thought in case he's going to reprimand them or hit them or something like that. He said, no, don't you worry. Okay. I'm talking to him in Punjabi naturally, and he's answering me in Punjabi. So he went up to the girl. He said, no, my darling, you don't say that. Here is 6 pence each. Don't say anything like that. It's bad. She gave them 6 pence each. There were 3 or 4 girls. They said, okay. They took the money, and then they're parting. They say, thank you very much, Mr. Darky. You see? So this is the kind of the stories, going around at that particular time. As I said, when I became Pedlar, I also joined the Royal Technical College for my classes. After a couple of years, I realized I had become so involved in the community. We haven't talked about the community yet. The community was very, should we say, most of the community was illiterate. Very few people who could read and write Urdu. And rarely anybody who could read in English or speak English. So I was the first one who had these, I could, speak in English, write English. So they also started coming to me for help. Filling in forms for this, filling in forms for that. As you know, it was Russian also. Also, when they needed licenses for peddling, you had to go to the police and all through rigmarole. And you had to have, somebody had to help them to fill the forms, to go with them to the police station and things like that. So I became so involved that I left my studies after 2 years. I thought, well, I had enough. So I became part of the community. So I joined them in, now full time. So, and then, to help them, I had to develop relationships or contacts with the local politicians. And I think that was the start of my political career. When I became friendly to politicians, they started me pestering to join the party, this party or that party. So that was the politics. Anyway, so I had got involved with all the, the local councillors and the local MP also, all these. So I became friendly with them, and they were all Labour. At that time, most of the councillors and the MPs were Labour, like now. And they started pestering me to join the Labour Party. He says, you're so active, you help us so much. And then they asked, when I asked them for help, they started asking me for help in the elections for the votes of the Asian communities. And then from then on, this came, that they started asking me, why did you join the party? So I joined the Labour Party in 1964 or 65, I don't remember now exactly. So it was this political involvement and my community involvement which impressed the people, it was an MP, I think, Teddy Taylor. He was a Conservative, remember. He recommended me, I remember, for the Justice of the Peace. And that was in 68. And with this, I got so much publicity with becoming a Justice of the Peace, first black person to become a justice, first black person to become a magistrate, and all that. So, everybody got to know me. Then soon after that, I became friendly with a person by the name of David Marshall. He was the Labour Party organizer for Glasgow. So he came and he then started, saying to me, you have been a member of the Labour Party, you are now a member of I had also become a member of the union, Transport General Union. I think you should stand for the council. I said, are you mad? Who would vote for me? It's 1969, he's talking to me. I said, listen, I do not want to be humiliated. I don't want to be insulted. I'm not going to stand. He kept pestering me. Eventually, I gave in. He said, listen, somebody has got to do it. If you don't, nobody will come forward. You are the only person at this moment who has got to do it, to show to the others that it can be done. Well, he convinced me. So I stood. Once I became a member, I was on the panel of the candidates, then there was a selection for the candidates. I was selected against my expectations. People said, there was not a single Pakistani there in that panel, in that selection room. And there were 4 or 5 of us, the other people, Scottish people, naturally, I was the only odd one, and they went for me. So I got selected, and then there was the election. Now, the help comes from certain quarters you never expect. When it was announced that I become a candidate for Kingston Ward, there was a group of people who wrote to me, Scottish people, saying that this is an occasion which could make history, and we want to be part of that history. We want to help you in your campaign. So we started the campaign a month before the elections. There were 6 of them. I was one and another couple of friends of mine, but all Scottish, who went around my ward. And wherever I went, I couldn't go everywhere. So there were 2, 2 of us, went on their own, knocking doors and telling people that this is your candidate. And they gave my leaflets and said, this is your candidate and this and that. Whenever they saw my picture, oh, we know this fellow. We know this fellow. Whenever I knocked the door and people came out, they said, we know you. We know you. All right, okay, you have come to us. You've asked our support, we'll support you. And halfway through the campaign, I started to become hopeful. On that election day, there's a custom here that candidates go around all the polling stations to be introduced to the staff at the polling stations. So I was doing my rounds and I met up with the agent of the Tory councillor. He was the sitting councillor. It was his seat. He met up with me and he says, oh, so you are Mr. Maan, who's opposing us. I said, yes, sir. Oh, well, you will get 20 votes. At that time, it didn't dawn on me. Why did he say 20 votes? I said, okay, sir, we'll see. We'll see tonight, when the result comes out. When we left, it suddenly came to my mind, there are 20 Asian votes in this ward. That's what he's talking about. That I'll get only 20 votes. Anyway, when we went to the poll, the count at night, when he started, that he and his candidate and his wife, they were standing there, and I was standing on that side. When they started my side of the, kind of ballot papers getting higher and higher, they started to become a bit, uncomfortable, naturally. So what happened actually was that I got elected, and his wife, when they realized, his wife started crying, the Tory candidates. I think it was at that time a great humiliation for him, be beaten by a colored candidate. That was one thing. Now, how I beat them and with what margin I beat them, that's amazing. We were 4 candidates. I was Labour, there was an SNP candidate, there was a Communist candidate, and the sitting councillor was the Tory candidate. I polled 56% of the total vote cast. They, 3 of them, got 44 in among 3 of them. That's what happened. Now, the press took it, very, very, and by the way, I must mention this, the press before the election was totally against the idea of the Labour Party putting up a coloured candidate. Their line was, the time hasn't come yet when the Scots people will vote for a coloured candidate, or a coloured person. That was their line. So when they realized what has happened, Scottish, what was Daily Express, headline was, Bashir bashes the Tories. So that's how things changed. I mean, as it is said, it's only ignorance which breeds prejudice or hatred. Once you get to know a thing, you might start loving it.